All right, Commanders Nation, brace yourselves, because this one stings a little bit. Washington just dropped their second preseason game of the year to the Detroit Lions, and folks, it was not pretty. We are breaking down every single winner, every single loser, and the QB controversy that is now officially bubbling up in Ashburn. So if you're new here, welcome to Commanders Focus. Hit that subscribe button right now because we are on a mission to hit 2,000 subscribers, and this breakdown is exactly the kind of content you're going to want to stick around for. Let's get into it. Let's start with how this thing even began, because honestly, it started with a bang, literally, right out of the gate. The Commanders' defense delivered an absolute statement play. A hard-hitting defensive back came in and unloaded on the Lions' starting quarterback, jarring the football loose in a forced fumble. The ball rolled all the way down to the end zone where a rookie edge rusher scooped it up for a defensive touchdown. Electric start. The kind of play that gets a crowd out of their seats and gets a fan base dreaming big. And then, nothing. The Commanders' offense did not find the end zone again for the rest of the entire football game. 6 measly points the rest of the way. 6. That is not the kind of offensive output anybody in Washington wants to see, preseason or not. And it set the tone for what became a genuinely frustrating night for this team. So what went wrong? Well, buckle up because there's plenty to unpack. The run blocking was rough, like really rough. The offensive line struggled to generate any consistent push, and the running backs were getting met in the backfield before they even had a chance to make a decision. On the other side of the ball, the run defense wasn't much better for most of the night. They tightened up down the stretch, but for large chunks of this game, Detroit was able to move the football on the ground far too easily. It was all around a pretty disappointing performance. But, and this is a big but, there was one massive shining light in all of this mess. And it's a name you are going to want to remember. The rookie quarterback out of Rutgers looked genuinely, legitimately good. And we are going to talk about exactly why that might be a real problem for a certain veteran backup on this roster. But before we get into all that quarterback drama, quick reminder, if you're enjoying this breakdown, smash that subscribe button. Commanders Focus is building something real here, a place for true die-hard fans to get honest, in-depth breakdowns after every single game this season, preseason, regular season, all of it. We're chasing 2,000 subscribers, and every single one of you watching right now can help push us over that line. Okay, back to the action. There were also some injury scares worth flagging here, because as fans, this is always the part of preseason football that makes your stomach turn a little bit. A veteran receiver left the game with an injury, a tight end had to head to the medical tent for evaluation, and another defensive piece also exited the contest. Now, we don't have full clarity on the severity of any of these yet. That usually comes when the head coach steps up to the podium in the days following the game. But these are names worth keeping a close eye on as this team heads toward final roster cuts and the start of the regular season. All right, let's get into the winners, because even in a loss like this, there were some real bright spots worth celebrating. First up, that defensive back who delivered the forced fumble to start the game, an absolute statement performance. There had been chatter all camp about who exactly would be starting alongside the projected top cornerback on this roster, with some names being floated around as sneaky competition. Well, after that vicious hit and forced fumble, this defender's day was basically done. The coaching staff clearly saw everything they needed to see. He's a physical presence, a true competitor, and exactly the kind of edge this defense has been missing. Massive props to him for making a statement, especially against what happened to be his former team. Next winner, a young safety who came away with yet another interception. Now look, you can absolutely make the argument that preseason interceptions often come against backup quarterbacks who are making rookie-level mistakes, and that's a fair point. But this is officially back-to-back weeks now with a takeaway from this player. This time coming off a badly overthrown pass during a scramble drill that landed right in his lap. While it seems like the presumed starter at free safety still holds the edge in that competition, It's awfully encouraging to see this young defensive back consistently around the football and making things happen. There were a few more feel-good defensive stories, too. An International Pathway Program player picked up a sack in this one. A really nice moment for a guy who has been grinding to hone his craft and earn his opportunity in this league. And a recently signed free agent defensive lineman came up with 2 sacks of his own, making an immediate impact playing with the 3rd and 4th team units. When a guy comes in fresh off free agency and instantly starts disrupting the backfield, that's a signing that's already paying dividends. But now, let's get to the real story of the night, the quarterback room. The rookie out of Rutgers absolutely balled out. He looked poised in the pocket, calm under pressure, delivering strikes down the field and over the middle even when things got tight around him. He uncorked a beautiful deep ball to one of the team's speedy young receivers that went for a big chunk gain. He finished the day completing the vast majority of his throws, and while he didn't find the end zone, there were some drops mixed in there that weren't on him. Most importantly, he didn't put the football in harm's way, a massive contrast to the other backup quarterback on the roster who suffered a brutal strip sack fumble of his own. Bottom line, this rookie played well, genuinely well, and the only real complaint is that he probably deserved even more playing time than he got. And that brings us to the losers list, because unfortunately, this is where things get a little rough for a certain veteran backup quarterback. Now, to be fair, it wasn't the single worst performance we've ever seen from him, but it was very much a performance we've seen before. Skittish in the pocket, lacking the arm strength to consistently push the football into tighter windows down the field. Yes, the completion percentage looked fine on paper, but dig a little deeper and you'll see a whole lot of short dink and dunk completions rather than any real explosive plays down the field. And then there was that ugly strip sack fumble born out of a total lack of pocket awareness. At this point, it's becoming increasingly clear that this rookie from Rutgers has already passed him on the depth chart, and there's a real conversation to be had about whether this veteran even makes the final roster at all. Speaking of rough nights, we've got to talk about the offensive line, because frankly, the entire unit struggled. The starting group gave up multiple quick pressures right out of the gate, contributing directly to a quick 3-and-out on what ended up being the only series we saw from the starting quarterback all night. And it didn't get much better from there. The run-blocking issues we mentioned earlier plagued this group snap after snap, with running backs getting met in the backfield over and over again. The pass protection did hold up a little better later in the game once the backups were in, but with a key starting interior lineman likely out for the season, this offensive line situation is shaping up to be a legitimate concern heading into the regular season. This group needs to be dramatically better, and soon. A few individual names stood out for the wrong reasons up front, too. The current starting center at the position got beaten repeatedly throughout the game, simply not good enough play from that spot right now. Another interior lineman who's been getting run at guard this preseason is clearly being groomed as organizational depth and a versatile swing piece rather than a true center of the future, which tells you a lot about how the coaching staff is thinking about that group. And one veteran tackle addition, a former starter from another organization, continued to struggle mightily, even against Detroit's backup pass rushers. Not exactly the tape you want to see from a guy fighting for a roster spot. The run defense also lands squarely in the losers category tonight. Detroit had a genuinely efficient day running the football, and the touchdown given up on a read option look came off some poor gap discipline from multiple defenders. If this defense wants to take the leap that fans and this coaching staff both believe is possible, that run-fit execution simply has to get cleaned up. There's also a rookie linebacker worth mentioning here. And look, this one's a tough watch, but it needs to be said honestly, through 2 weeks of preseason football, the growing pains are showing. Slow run diagnosis, entering the wrong gaps, the typical struggles you'd expect from someone still adjusting to a demanding new position at the highest level. Linebacker might be the single hardest position in football to master quickly. And it's important to remember, this team invested a premium draft asset in this player for a reason. nobody should be hitting the panic button after 2 preseason performances, but there is real, tangible development still needed before he becomes the impact difference maker this defense is hoping for. All right, quick pause here because we're getting into the home stretch of this breakdown, and I want to make sure you're locked in with us going forward. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time. Commanders Focus is committed to bringing you real, honest reactions after every single game this season, and we are so close to hitting that 2,000 subscriber mark. Every single person watching this video has the power to help us get there, so smash that subscribe button, drop a like, and let's keep this thing rolling. Back to the losers list, because there's more to cover. A veteran defensive back also had a night to forget, struggling in coverage and missing multiple tackles in open space, concerning tape for someone who started for this team a year ago and is now fighting to hold on to a role in the safety rotation. And then there's a young running back who had a really tough outing across the board. He finished with negative rushing yardage, though, to be fair, a chunk of that falls on the porous offensive line play in front of him, but the bigger issue came late in the game, when he coughed up a critical fumble that ended any realistic chance of a Commanders comeback, handing the football right back to Detroit to run out the clock. With one veteran running back dealing with an injury and another already lost for the season, this was supposed to be a golden opportunity to seize a bigger role. Instead, it was a performance that puts real pressure on him heading into next week. Add in a receiver who had multiple drops after a reportedly strong training camp, a punt coverage unit that allowed several big returns off missed tackles, and a frustrating number of self-inflicted penalties, and you've got yourself a genuinely messy, mistake-filled outing from top to bottom. So where does that leave us? Look, it wasn't a good night. Guys were out of position, tackling was inconsistent, penalties piled up, and execution simply wasn't there once this team got into scoring territory. But it's important to zoom out here. This is preseason football. The final roster isn't set, the depth chart is still being sorted out, and nights like this, as ugly as they are exactly what these exhibition games exist for. And through all the frustration, there were real, legitimate bright spots. Most notably, a rookie quarterback who looks like he might have already locked down a spot on this roster, and a defense that flashed real playmaking ability even in a losing effort. So, Commanders fans, I want to hear from you. Grade this performance. Drop an A, B, C, D, or an F down in the comments and let me know exactly how frustrated or not frustrated you are after this one. And more importantly, tell me who your MVP was from this game. Was it the physical defensive back who set the tone early? Was it the rookie quarterback quietly climbing the depth chart? Let's get a real conversation going down there. That's going to do it for this breakdown, Commanders faithful. Before you go, do me a favor, hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel more than you know. Drop your thoughts and your grade down in the comments, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to Commanders Focus. We are chasing down 2,000 subscribers, and with your help, we are going to get there. Every single subscriber, every single like, every single comment pushes this channel one step further toward becoming the ultimate destination for Washington Commanders coverage. So don't wait, subscribe right now, and I'll see you in the next one. Hail to the